Tonight on Stateline, the bitter power struggle that's left thousands of Victorian health workers waiting on a new pay deal, and why the Education Minister is under fire over plans for a new town library.
It started with a library. It's definitely become an issue about democracy.
Hello and welcome to Stateline. I'm Tamara O'Dine. As the state government looks for more ways to save money by sharing community assets and facilities, one project in country Victoria is giving both its local community and Spring Street a big headache. The proposed joint use library in Colac is to be shared by the secondary college and the community. But despite significant opposition and a local council that wants the project stopped, the state government has signed off on the contracts and the facility is now under construction. Guy Stainer reports.
The chances of us getting an updated library in the next 20 to 30 years, this is our very best shot at it.
Joint use libraries in Victoria have on the whole not been well planned. They have been poorly evaluated and a number of them have failed over the last 30 years.
When you don't have the community support at the beginning, it's doomed to fail. It will fail.
Libraries might have an image for peace and quiet, but there's a lot of noise being made about the Colac Library.
It started with a library. It's definitely become an issue about democracy.
When the Colac Council voted to go into partnership with the state government to build a new library, the benefits seemed clear-cut.
Our current library is underutilised and smaller than what we should have in our community, about half the size it should be, and the new library will be some 4 times the size of our current library.
The new library would be built on the grounds of the local secondary school, but would be open to the public, and the running costs would be shared.
It involves the two generations, older generation and the younger generation. I think it's a really good idea.
But the council didn't count on the groundswell of opposition from many of the existing library's 9,000 members.
The joint use I'm quite happy with, but it's the position of where it's going to be.
And what's the problem with the position?
Well, it's too far out. Colac's an ageing population. People have got to get there somehow. The older people use the library, and here it's local, but to go out, way out to Queen Hern Street, our way out there, it's just too far.
Concerns have also been raised about student safety.
Schools, of course, have a responsibility to provide a safe environment for their students, and although they are working with students to develop responsible internet usage and ethical internet usage, they also have in place blocks and filters that are quite different than those that would be imposed upon internet usage in a public library, for example.
Opponents say the library could become a venue for sexual predators.
These people will be using such places as grooming places to groom young children.
There is a small group that are very vocal and have led a very strong campaign. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of misleading information that has been put out to the community.
The Friends of Colac Library have run a vocal campaign and helped ensure the joint use library became a prominent issue in last year's council elections.
A very significant election issue. 4 councillors stood on a public platform of saving the existing library. And those councillors were elected.
Would you say that as a result of those recent elections that the council has a mandate to prevent the joint use library from going ahead?
I believe that's true. I believe there was such a depth of feeling in the community about retaining our existing library that there was a mandate there.
2 weeks after the elections, Council met on the 10th of December to officially withdraw its support for the project. But on that very day, Bronwyn Pike, the Minister for Education, signed the contracts to start work.
We were a little disappointed, to say the least, with respect to the timing of the Minister's signing. As you say, quite rightly, 2 weeks after the election, 2 weeks after the community had spoken. This was raised with the Minister when we went before her. we did not really get a response with respect to the timing of the minister's signing.
For the minister to sign on that day, I think is just very devious, not listening to the people.
The Education Minister isn't keen to talk about the Colac controversy or the timing of her decision to sign the library agreement. After Bronwyn Pike refused our request for an interview, her office issued a statement that failed to answer our direct questions, saying it is regular and prudent practice to get projects moving quickly. The statement also failed to address criticism by Australia's leading advocate of joint use libraries.
I'm quite sure at this stage that the whole of the community in Colac has not been consulted about the proposal, and certainly should be if it is to proceed. The experience with joint use libraries is that unless the community is behind a joint use library, unless all the partners are convinced it is the right response to them, it does endanger the future prospects of the joint use library.
Dr Alan Bundy was a consultant on the Colac project, and he now fears for its future.
I think there are enough concerns in the community to warrant actually a suspension of any further action if that's possible, but that may be difficult given the construction of the schools.
With Bronwyn Pike telling council it would cost as much to get out of the contract as build the new facility, it appears, despite Dr Bundy's warnings, there's no turning back for Colac.
Well, the project has commenced. The state government have enacted the agreement. Contracts have now been let and works have started, so the joint use library will be built.
More joint use libraries have been proposed in Warragul and Monbulk, and those communities will be keeping a close eye on Colac.
It would be most unwise to proceed without everyone taking a big deep breath on this situation and reviewing from the beginning what they are trying to achieve for the community in terms of better library facilities for young people, for teenagers, and for adults and for older adults. And I think probably the whole review process needs to start over again, even if that takes some time, because I don't think Colac or Victoria can afford to have another joint use library which in fact is a failure.
Sadly, I think it will take the building of the library and the functioning of the library for them to see that this will be a community library on the edge of a school ground rather than a school library that the community is expected to use.
This won't be over until the doors are closed at the current library for the final time.
Guy Stainer reporting there.